Hello everybody, and welcome to a slightly peculiar playthrough. Because while this is the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories playthrough, it's actually not going to be a proper playthrough because I am really not the biggest fan of Chain of Memories, and so what I am going to do instead, because as we are pretty much now in the run-up to Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out, and because I really kind of wanted to cover the entirety of the story of Kingdom Hearts on the channel before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, so then, I can cover Kingdom Hearts 3 and feel content in the knowledge that if you've followed me throughout my entire YouTube career, then you'll have seen all the bits of the story, so then Kingdom Hearts 3 will make sense. So basically, we are going through a string of Kingdom Hearts cutscene commentaries, as I'm going to call them, because they're not playthroughs, because, there's no actual game being played. But, considering, 358 over 2 days and Recoded were presented as movies in the 1.5 plus 2.5 HD Remix collection, I'm just giving that same treatment to Chain of Memories, because it's easily quite low down there in my list of Kingdom Hearts games, and it's something that I will discuss as we go throughout the course of the playthrough, because obviously that is a somewhat controversial thought. Like, I would say that most people would probably put 358 over 2 days and Recoded right at the bottom of their Kingdom Hearts pile, but I would very much put Chain of Memories at the bottom of my Kingdom Hearts pile. And that is pretty much almost entirely down to the gameplay. Just the entire gameplay of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, I don't like it. And it's the one game in the series that I really felt like I had to slog through. And I know that this is a sort of rather negative opening to this playthrough, but I mean, one, you can't win them all, these things happen, but also I feel that that is all needed to be put into context to explain why I'm doing a cutscene commentary of Chain of Memories over the likes of doing, an actual playthrough. And it's just because I physically could not put myself through playing the entirety of Chain of Memories, Chain of Memories again. What I probably should have done is recorded it at the time I was playing it for the first time, because then I wouldn't, have had to do any of that, but hey, that did not happen, and yeah, I'm not playing it again. So, cutscenes are the way forward. So obviously normally in a playthrough I will sort of stay quiet for cutscenes, but since, this is pretty much an entire playthrough cutscene commentary of cutscenes, I'm just going to be a little bit more flexible with that. When there's anything that is particularly integral, I'll probably just let the game speak for itself. Where not, I'll just blather over the top of it so you get my wonderful thoughts on this interesting game. But this is definitely important.
You must lose something that is dear to you.
So yes, with this title card, we are well and truly into Rechain of Memories because we are introduced to Castle Oblivion, which is where we will be spending the entirety of this game. And obviously, having just come off of doing the playthrough of Birth by Sleep, we all know exactly what Castle Oblivion is and why it exists. But when the original Chain of Memories came out, we didn't. It was just this really weird-ass castle in the middle of nowhere that looks like it's really not structurally sound. But it's a weird one, because, I mean, Chain of Memories in general is a weird case. So, the original game came out in between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. The plot actually takes place in the middle of them. And oddly enough, it was released on the Game Boy Advance. And it's one of those things where you look at it and you just go, how did this get made? Why did this get made? And I mean, I think it got sort of relatively well received-ish. But I don't think a huge number of people did end up playing it because, you know, Game Boy Advance game that most people who'd played the original PS2 only, so you could only play it there, and a lot of kids who had a PlayStation didn't necessarily have a Game Boy Advance, so you've kind of got that potential issue.
I had it too.
But obviously the version that we're experiencing is the delightful 3D remake of that, which is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which came out around the same time as Kingdom Hearts 2 in Japan, and then, well, maybe a bit later than that, and then was imported to North America about 2 years later, in 2008. However, it was never released in the PAL region at that time. So, until 1.5 HD Remix, Rechain of Memories was completely impossible for us Brits to play, unless, you know, you did all sorts of hacky stuff to be able to play it. So, I am really glad that we now have the ability to experience Rechain of Memories and Chain of Memories in a more easily accessible fashion, because obviously getting a GBA game a bit difficult sometimes if you want to play legitimately. So it's nice to have been able to finally experience the game, but it really very much is one that
The moment you set foot in this castle, you forgot
I've experienced better games, and while the plot of Rechain of Memories is very interesting, I mean, this whole idea of to find is to lose and to lose is defined is quite fascinating, and the whole mess of memories and stuff that go on in here is also really fascinating. But we do spend a lot of time in these corridors, and they do get quite samey. But hey, we're getting plot, I should probably shut up.
I miss? Riku! You mean Riku's here?
If what you want is to find him,
Huh? What'd you do?
I merely sampled your memories, and from them, I made this. To reunite with those you hold dear.
What's this? A card?
It is a promise for the reunion you seek. Hold the card to open the door, and beyond it a new world. Proceed, Sora. To lose and claim anew, or to claim anew only to lose.
Come on. Let's go.
And so Sora began his journey through Castle Oblivion using the cards, and yes, cards, that is the whole shtick of Chain of Memories. The card combat, and very, very blocky levels. Very blocky levels. And also a lot of returning worlds and characters and repeating stories and so on and so forth. It's one of the things that most of the side games, so Chain of Memories, 348 over 2 Days, Recoded, all of those three were quite heavily criticised for making overuse of all of the old Kingdom Hearts worlds and effectively just making it feel like we were playing Kingdom Hearts 1 again and again and again. And I think that is probably part of where I sit with Chain of Memories, because while 358 over 2 Days and Recoded do different things in the worlds that you are reliving through, Chain of Memories effectively is just telling us the story of all of the worlds from Kingdom Hearts 1 again, just slightly differently. Not quite how we remember them happening, but sort of how we remember them happening. And yes, also I have to say that while I really appreciate that they put the effort in to do all of the end of floor and beginning of floor cutscenes fully animated, they're amazing. A lot of Chain of Memories is in this kind of style of the more static text box conversations. And while the original Kingdom Hearts did have some of that, it didn't have, like, it was primarily voiced cutscenes, and it's something that the series has progressed much more towards over the years of being pretty much entirely voiced. These text boxes are very, very rare these days in the series. I feel for the better, because it does make them much more engaging, I feel. Like, it's much more exciting and a lot more feels like it's going on when you're doing that sort of stuff. And you've got those voices going, because it lifts and elevates the quality of a cutscene. It makes it much more engaging and exciting, and it means you're more likely to pay attention to it. But there we go. Now, since we are reliving Traverse Town and we're going to be here for a little while, it's pretty much time to talk about sort of the key thing that differentiates Chain of Memories from any of the other games in the series, and that is the new battle system and sort of level system. So, everything in Chain of Memories is based on cards. So, the worlds are created by cards in order to get to different rooms within the world, so you end up with sort of this box maze type structure. You need to use cards that you get by defeating Heartless, so you get a map card, and then you use those to open up new rooms, and you can change what's in the room by what type of card you use. And this can help you out, this can put you at risk, and it's sort of how you play around with things. That's okay until you start to get towards the later stages of the game, where they throw doors at you which require a ludicrous number of cards to unlock. Pretty much you want to make sure that you keep one Joker card for right at the end of the game, because there's a door which requires like 300 odd points or something ludicrous like that. It's ridiculous. And Joker map cards basically give you a free pass into a room, which is great. You also have a very sort of rigid structure in terms of how the cutscenes play out within the worlds. So you head to the first sort of major room, which is Birth or something. Then you go to a second key map room, and then you go to a third one. The third one's generally the boss fight. They do change it up a little bit, and then you just go to the world's exit. And that's how all of these end up panning out. And the way that you sort of want to play the game is you do want to fight as many Heartless as you can and level up as much as you can, because there are some challenging fights as you progress throughout the game. Like, there's some boss fights which are actually quite difficult if you're not high leveled enough, or if you don't have the right sleights to be able to more easily take them down. But yes, that whole thing of sleights, this all ties into the card battle system. And this is the only game in the entire series which has made use of it, apart from, I believe it's Flick Rush in Dream Drop Distance with the Dream Eaters. So, attacks are represented by cards with different values and abilities. Total number of cards a deck can contain is determined by your card points, your CP value, and so each card has an individual CP value, which shows you how powerful the card is, which then means that the total CP of all the cards cannot be higher than yours is, and you can hold a maximum of 99 cards. The only way of leveling up your CP is by leveling up Sora, and so you just need to keep leveling up. With the leveling up, you can, I believe, always select which one to put extra stuff into, and I can't remember what the key recommendation is, but it's pretty much you always put stuff into your CP and your sleights, because those are your most useful to you rather than, say, health. So your cards are split up into three types: attack cards, magic cards, and item cards. Attack cards are just kind of pictures of keyblades. They're your standard attack, your combos, which is, I think, the thing that makes Chain of Memories frustrating to play for me, because your basic combos are locked behind using cards, and you can be blocked out of using your regular cards by enemies using the same things against you and breaking your card. And considering Kingdom Hearts has always been a rather mashy type of game, losing that mashing ability it means you have to think more strategically about how you fight. But also, for people like me, it doesn't quite sit in terms of how the brain works. Magic cards are obviously all your magic spells: fire, ice, thunder, cure, gravity, and then item cards you use to restore your cards, basically. And pretty much they can only be used once per battle, so you need to balance things out. There are also a few other types of cards that you can use. You've got friend cards, which appear on the field of battle as you're fighting, which allow you to summon an ally to fight. They're incredibly helpful, and you should definitely make use of them wherever possible. Enemy cards, which you get from enemies and bosses, which gives you temporary capabilities. Sometimes it's offensive, sometimes it's defensive. There's some that are particularly useful, more so than others, one of which I will highlight when we get to it. And then last but not least are the gimmick cards. Gimmick cards only appear during certain boss battles, and it's a green Mickey Mouse insignia that's on it. And the value of the card's always 0, and when you use it, you are basically given a chance to gain the upper hand. So there is at least one fight later on where the field gets covered in poison. It'll be immediately memorable to anybody who's played the original Kingdom Hearts. And using the gimmick card basically makes that all go away, and you've just got a nice plain platform to fight the boss on, which makes it a lot easier. So that works out. Each card numbered from 0 to 9, and If someone plays a card that's higher than yours, or 0, then you can break. They'll break your attack, which means that you can't use it. You can also use that against enemies, and doing a card break is a way of getting a lot of successful hits in on enemies and gaining the upper hand. A 0 card can break any attack, but if you play it too early, then someone can easily break you, so there's that. Then you've got the idea of sleights, which are special abilities like Sonic Blade, Strike Raid, Ars Arcanum, and you pull them off by stocking multiple cards at once and then using them. They vary between using cards of the same type, certain numerical values, different types, etc. Pretty much the sleights that you want to make sure that you get a hold of as quickly as possible are Sonic Blade. Well, it's just Sonic Blade. That is the one that makes the game a lot easier and a lot more bearable, to me anyway. And I believe the other one is Lethal Frame, but you don't get that until quite a lot later down the line than Sonic Blade. But both of those are very useful sleights to have on hand, and ones that I think most people would say just kit your deck out with those commands and you will be in a much better position. So yeah, you can create up to 3 decks, just like in Birth by Sleep. You can do the command decks and so on and so forth, as long as you have at least 1 attack card in the deck and you don't exceed his CP limit. During level ups you can increase Sora's CP in addition to obtaining more HP and new sleights at certain times. There's also the opportunity to use things called premium cards, which are special attack or magic cards. They don't require as much CP to equip, but they can become completely unreloadable when used in battle, unless they are the 2nd or 3rd card in a combo, so not the 1st or the last, I think.
Sora,
And you can collect cards by smashing things or buying them,
good to see everyone.
but yeah, it can get quite expensive.
What do you really want
But
from
we
me?
made it through Traverse Town, so that's nice. And hey, it's Axel!
Oh,
We all love Axel.
What do you want?
no hogging the hero.
Then perhaps you'd like to test him.
Perhaps I would. My show now, Keyblade Master. Who am I? Oh, my name's Axel. Got it memorized? Sure. Good. You're a quick learner. So, Sora, now that we're getting to know each other better, don't you go off and die on me now.
Another one? What's it do?
Kinda looks like the card you used when you made Traverse Town.
Then I guess we're gonna need it to keep going.
That's right. Did you really think after that introduction I would give up oh so easily?
You were testing us.
And you passed. Congratulations, Sora. You're ready now. Ready to take on Castle Oblivion. You will need to follow your memories. Trust what you remember and seek what you forget. Then you will find someone very special.
You mean King Mickey and Riku?
You will just have to give some more thought to who it is that's most important to you. Our most precious memories lie so deep within our hearts that they're out of reach. But I'm sure that you can find yours, Sora.
Why me?
You have lost sight of the light within the darkness, and it seems that you've forgotten that you forgot.
The light within darkness?
Would you like me to give you a hint?
Sora, do you need it?
I'm gonna figure it out for myself. If you're in my way...
Don't worry, Sora. We'll protect you.
Good answer. Just what I'd expect from the Keyblade Master. But be forewarned. When your sleeping memories awaken, you may no longer be who you are now.
So yes, Axel's quite interesting, but we're on to the next floor, which is always quite exciting when you get to a new floor, new world. Always fun.
What's wrong, Jiminy?
Well, you see, what Axel said back there worries me. What could he have meant by, you may no longer be who you are?
I may no longer be me. How can I be anyone else?
Of course. Still, you can't be too careful.
Yep. Feels like just about anything could happen here in Castle Castle Oblivion. Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
We'll be okay. Whatever it is they're cooking up, we'll be able to handle it together.
Course we will. Like at that creepy castle we explored together. The one with all those weird contraptions.
When was that?
I can't remember. What was it called?
Gorge. Oh, it was, Holly? Holler? Sorry, I can't remember.
What? Stop goofing around.
Goofy, sure you didn't make it up?
I don't think so.
And so we enter our second world, which is Agrabah. You do actually have a choice of which world you enter, of like a set of 5 or something. I can't remember what the recommended list or the recommended order is, but I do believe that Agrabah does come quite quickly in that list. Primarily because you want the enemy card from beating the boss at the end of this world, which, as I'm sure you all expect, is Genie Jafar. And that is because the Genie Jafar card, it's an enemy card, is really helpful because I believe it prevents enemies from breaking your attacks. It's about 20 cards that you can make use of, or 20 card breaks that it will prevent, which can be incredibly useful in combat. And definitely something that I think most people would say is probably for the best. Now, since we're in another world, I feel I should probably just bring up some of the key differences between the original Chain of Memories and the re-Chain of Memories. So, the most important one was obviously the total redesign of the game to be a 3-dimensional game, in line with KH1 and KH2. And because of that, it included changing battle arenas, which didn't have height in them initially, into 3D arenas, so basically enemies can jump, everyone can move out of your way as well as you being able to move out of theirs a lot more easily. The arenas can also be more aesthetically varied, even in the same world, whereas it used to only be one arena design per world, but I think the issue that I have with the worlds in general is that they're very blocky, they're very square, which makes sense in the context of everything that's going on, but it's that going from the much more free-flowing worlds that we know and love to these much smaller, squarer blocks. It's the same issue that I had with Okamiden, actually, which still had those sort of free-flowing worlds, but you were boxed off in terms of exploring them. And that was infuriating. You also have the reaction command system of KH2 incorporated into Sora's mechanics, which pretty much replace the instances where the player would normally press an A button to continue a combo attack. So it's basically when you're using slight and trying to continue that. A smaller but very important change was the conversion of many of the cutscenes into fully voice-active full-motion videos and the use of voice acting within the gameplay. While the dialogue for the game was recorded using the same actors used in Kingdom Hearts 2, the voicing and sound effects within the gameplay relied largely on existing clips, so pretty much most of the voice clips and so on and so forth, yeah, they're from like Kingdom Hearts 2 directly. In some cases, such as Sora's invocation of the stop spell, the clips were only available using Kingdom Hearts voice actors, like the original one. Also, as the scenes were now fully rendered, rather than being acted out with sprites, the violence within the game became much more apparent, and the game's rating was raised from E to an E10+ for fantasy violence. Everything else pretty much remained the same in terms of key things, but there are small tweaks to the storyline, as well as the addition of new cards, slights, bosses, and also a theatre mode to watch all the cutscenes, because obviously trying to fit full motion 3D cutscenes onto a GBA, like they did manage to do it for a few cutscenes, and that is mighty impressive, but yeah, they couldn't do it for everything. Now, I probably can't go into too much of some of the key other changes in terms of story, mechanics, and visual and audio changes, because obviously we're not very far into the plot at all. But the one that I can bring up is that obviously the voice we hear coming out of Sora's mouth is very much KH2, Haley Joel Osment, because it was recorded after Kingdom Hearts 2. So despite the fact that this technically comes in between KH1 and KH2, pretty much, well, it comes immediately after Kingdom Hearts 1, so Sora should very much still have his 14-year-old voice. He very much has his Kingdom Hearts 2 voice, because obviously Haley Joel Osment grew up between the release of the two games, and so a much deeper voice. Part of me does wonder why they couldn't try and get a sound alike for it, because part of me, I think when I initially first watched the cutscenes, I was just like, no, this doesn't sound right. This doesn't make any sense, and like my brain can't match this Sora design with that voice. But I think, considering we're now a lot later down the line, I'm kind of okay with it. Like, I remember it being quite frustrating when I first heard it, because it didn't match. But now, I think I'm so used to Haley Joel Osment's main Sora voice and his KH1 voice is such an outlier, because obviously he was so young when he recorded that. It just means that that is just that one. But hey, everyone else is identical, and pretty much, I mean, one of the things that Kingdom Hearts has always been fantastic with, for the most part, there's a few key examples where it's not the case, but for the most part, they've kept voice actors throughout the entire franchise. The only times where they haven't are in case of retirement from acting, death, or just sort of moving away from certain things. I mean, like, the only real one that I can say was part of the series and then ceased being part of the series was Brittany Snow as Naminé, and Naminé has since been taken over by Megan Jeanette Martin. But Hayden Panettiere has been in pretty much most of them, as well as Alison Stoner, who voices Shion in Kingdom Hearts 3 for over 2 days, and they've kind of alternated a little bit in certain games later down the line, which does make me slightly concerned at Kairi sounding like she should in Kingdom Hearts 3, because it's just like, come on Hayden, please can you make sure you come back for Kingdom Hearts 3, because I really quite like mainline Kairi to sound like she should. That would be nice. But hey, we can but hope. I mean, we're still quite a ways away from Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out when I'm recording this, so anything can happen. But pretty much everybody else has been consistent, which I really appreciate, because one, it's giving voice actors who do great work so often just a bit of consistency in, you know, getting paid, but also it's good for players because then you've got the same character, and it is the same character and same sound and everything just continuing. But yes, that was the end of Agrabah, nothing really too fancy, and
creepy castle that I was
if he's still trying to remember Hollow Bastion,
I know I didn't imagine.
poor soul. Poor soul
'Cause
indeed.
That was the castle where Sora had to use the Keyblade to free Kairi's heart. Then he just disappeared, and I was so worried. How could I ever forget that?
Oh, it was when I turned into a Heartless. Wait, that happened in a castle?
You forgot that? 'Cause I remember perfectly.
Then what's it called?
That's easy, it was. Somebody help me. Is it in your journal?
Every word. I finished the first volume right before we got to this castle. Now then, if I can just find it. Oh, here we go. Let's have a look. Oh, how could it be?
What's the matter?
Oh, my entries, they're gone. Every page is blank.
What do we do?
How could this have happened? I'm so careful with the journals. All that hard work is gone.
The journal's blank. What's going on?